You are 20 years old. You have been accepted. That is how they say it. Accepted, as if you applied for a scholarship, as if you passed an examination, as if this is a beginning rather than an end. Your commanding officer shakes your hand. Your fellow pilots bow. Someone pours sake into a small cup and you drink it standing at attention in a wooden barracks in southern Japan. And everyone in the room is smiling, and you smile back. Because this is an honor. This is the highest honor. You will not be coming home. You have known that since before you raised your hand. The form you signed, volunteers only, they said, no pressure. But the man next to you raised his hand, and the man next to him raised his hand, and you understood, in the quiet logic of a military unit at war, what it meant to be the one who did not. The form you signed had a word, printed at the top in clean black ink. Tokko. Special attack. You are a kamikaze. And somewhere in a hangar 3 miles from where you were standing, bolted beneath the belly of a Mitsubishi G4M bomber, is a wooden aircraft the size of a large man, packed with 2,646 pounds of explosive, fitted with a small cockpit and 3 rockets and no landing gear, because it will not be landing. Its name is Ohka, cherry blossom. You will fly it once. You did not always want to die for the Emperor. This is the truth that you carry quietly, that you do not say aloud, not because you are afraid, but because the words do not fit the shape of what surrounds you. You wanted to fly? That was the beginning of it. The pure, uncomplicated desire to be above the earth, to move through the sky the way you had watched birds move since you were a child in Kagoshima, where the harbor opens to the sea and the horizon seems to go on forever. You entered Naval Flight School in 1943 at the age of 18. The instructors were strict and the hours were long and the food was poor, and you loved every day of it. You were good. Not the best in your class, but good enough. Good enough to know when you were in the air that there was no place else you wanted to be. By the time you completed your training, the war had changed. Midway was gone. Guadalcanal was gone. The long, bright arc of Japanese expansion across the Pacific, which seemed in 1942 to have no limit, had reached its limit and was now, quietly and then not so quietly, reversing. The American industrial machine, which your commanders had promised would break under pressure, which your textbook said could not sustain a war of attrition, was not breaking. It was accelerating. The aircraft you trained on were older than the aircraft the Americans were flying. The pilots graduating behind you had fewer hours than you did. The fuel was rationed in ways it had not been 6 months ago. You understood what this meant. Every pilot in every barracks in Japan understood what this meant. You did not discuss it openly, but you understood. October 1944, Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in history, and Japan lost it in 4 days. On October 25th, Lieutenant Yukio Seki led 5 fighters, each carrying a 550-pound bomb welded to its frame. Welded so it could not be dropped. So the pilot had no choice but to fly the plane into the target, into the American escort carrier fleet off Samar Santee damaged, Suwannee damaged, St. Lo struck and sunk. It worked. Not well enough to change the war, but well enough for the admirals in Tokyo to believe they had found something. A weapon the Americans could not train against. A weapon that did not miss, because the weapon itself was the pilot. The program expanded overnight. And someone in the Imperial Navy, looking for something with more explosive power and more speed than a Zero, approved the Ohka. A rocket-powered flying bomb, piloted by one man. Designed from the first drawing to be a one-way aircraft. They asked for volunteers in December. You raised your hand. The first time you sit in the Ohka cockpit, you understand something that no briefing had prepared you for. It is very small. You have flown Zeros, which are not large aircraft, but the Zero has windows and instruments and the sense, however false, that you are operating a machine that could theoretically bring you back. The Ohka has a small plexiglass canopy, a basic altimeter, an airspeed indicator, a sight for targeting. The controls are simple. They have to be simple. You will have, from the moment of release to the moment of impact, somewhere between 20 and 50 seconds to fly the aircraft. 20 to 50 seconds. That is your entire flight. The mechanics explain the ignition sequence for the 3 solid-fuel rockets. They show you how to arm the warhead. They run through the targeting procedure, dive angle, airspeed correction for wind, with the efficiency of men who have explained this many times before. They do not meet your eyes when they are done. You understand that. To March 21, 1945, the first Ohka mission. 16 G4M bombers, each carrying 1 Ohka and 1 pilot, take off from Kanoya Air Base in Kyushu. Their target, the American fleet gathering off Okinawa. The bombers are slow, dangerously slow when carrying. The added weight of the Ohka and the American Combat Air Patrol finds them while they are still 60 miles from the fleet. All 16 bombers are shot down before a single Ohka can be released. 16 Ohka pilots die in the bellies of aircraft they never had a chance to fly. You hear the news in the barracks. No one says anything for a long time. Then someone says, "The mother aircraft need better fighter escort," and everyone nods. And the conversation moves on because this is the only direction available. Forward, always forward. The word retreat has been removed from the operational vocabulary of the Imperial Japanese Navy. You do not sleep well that night. ACT-3, Okinawa, April. April 1st, 1945. The Americans land on Okinawa, 60,000 troops on the first day, the largest amphibious assault in the Pacific War. And behind them, offshore, a fleet of nearly 150 ships, the largest naval force ever assembled in the Pacific. A quantity of steel and firepower so vast that from the air in the briefing photographs, the ocean around Okinawa seems to have turned gray. Your target is somewhere in that gray. You think about the men on those ships. You have been told not to. You have been told to think about the Emperor, about Japan, about the generations that came before you and built this country with their sacrifice. These are the correct thoughts. These are the thoughts of a Tokko pilot. But you are 20 years old, and you cannot entirely stop yourself from wondering about the man who will be standing on the deck of whatever ship you hit. Whether he has a mother, whether he is also 20 years old. You do not share this thought with anyone. April 12, 1945. The mission that changes everything. A G4M carrying an Ohka piloted by Ensign SABURO. DOHI approaches the American destroyer USS Manard El Abale off the coast of Okinawa. The escort fighters are overwhelmed. The bomber gets through. At the right distance, the Ohka is released. DOHI ignites the rockets. The Ohka accelerates to over 400 miles per hour, faster than any American fighter can catch, faster than any anti-aircraft gun can reliably track in the final seconds of approach. It strikes the Manard El Abale amidships. The ship breaks in half. It sinks in less than 2 minutes. 73 American sailors die. It is the first successful Ohka hit in the war. SABURO DOHI is 22 years old. When you hear his name in the briefing room, they speak it carefully, the way you speak the name of someone who has crossed into a different category of existence. Someone who has done the thing that all of you have volunteered to do, and therefore represents, in the most concrete possible terms, what is coming for each of you. You write his name in your notebook that night. You are not sure why. You simply feel that it should be written somewhere. Orders come on a morning in late April. Your name is on the list. The day passes in a way you will not be able to describe afterward to anyone, because there is no afterward for you. But if there were, you would say it passes both very slowly and very quickly, the way important days always do, as if time itself is uncertain how to behave. You write a letter to your mother. You have written letters home throughout the war, careful letters that said nothing about where you were or what you were doing, full of questions about the garden and the neighbors and your younger sister's schoolwork. This letter is different. You do not know exactly what to say in it, so you say the things that are true, that you love her, that you are not afraid. The second part is not entirely true, but it is true enough that writing it does not feel like a lie. You eat dinner with your unit. Someone has obtained a bottle of good sake, real sake, not the wartime substitute, and you drink it slowly, not enough to dull anything, just enough to feel the warmth of it. One of the older pilots, a man of 25 who has already flown 3 conventional missions, tells a story about a botched landing drill in 1943 that is genuinely funny and everyone laughs, including you. And for a few minutes the room is just a room full of young men laughing at a funny story. Then it gets late. You go outside and stand in the dark for a while. The stars over Kyushu on a clear night are remarkable. You have noticed this before, but tonight you notice it more completely. The sky is the same sky you watched from Kagoshima as a boy, the same sky you looked up at from the flight school dormitory, the same sky that exists right now, over Okinawa, over the American fleet, over the men who are sleeping on ships and do not know that tomorrow you are coming. You stand there for a long time. Then you go inside. You fold your letter. The Ohka program flew combat missions from March to August 1945. 56 Ohka pilots were killed. The weapon that was designed to be unstoppable proved, in practice, to be difficult to deploy. The mother aircraft were vulnerable, the escort fighters insufficient. The Americans adapted faster than the Imperial Navy anticipated. 3,860 kamikaze pilots died in total during the final year of the Pacific War. Their average age was 17 to 24. Many were university students who had their graduation ceremonies accelerated so they could be conscripted before completing their degrees. The war ended on August 15, 1945. The pilots who were ready and waiting and did not fly that day, who stood down when the Emperor's voice came over the radio for the first time in history and said the word surrender, went home, lived, grew old. Some of them gave interviews decades later about what it was like to volunteer and then be told at the last moment that the thing you had prepared to do would not be necessary. Most of them said it was the best news of their lives. Most of them also said they still thought about the ones who did not come back. SABURO DOHI was 22 years old when he flew his Ohka into the Manard El Abele on April 12, 1945. He had been accepted to study literature at university before the war. His name is carved into a memorial at Chiran Peace Museum in Kagoshima, the same prefecture where you grew up, where the harbor opens to the sea, where the horizon looks like it goes on forever. You can visit it today. They kept the letters.